Hey, so we are here at Mozingo's Music in O'Fallon, Missouri, which is just about 45 minutes outside of St. Louis, and we're doing another custom shop makeover today. And I have the pleasure of spending the day with Mr. Greg Livingston.
Thanks, Brent.
He's a local player, and wanted to come in and see what we could do with his drum kit. So, Greg, tell us a little bit about your drum kit here. You got a beautiful drum kit.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's a set that goes back to 1981. It's my first set that I had purchased, and that wasn't a hodgepodge of put together or this and that. And it was one of the last sets that were made out of Chicago before the production of this particular drum line moved on to the Carolinas. And it was an Octoplus set. It has modular hardware all around the set, and a lot of toms, a lot of drums. On paper, it really looks good. But when it comes down to actually playing it, it lacks something as far as playability to be able to manipulate around the set and get around it. But sound-wise, it's as good as it comes, but it could definitely use some tweaking to get it to the point as to where it's more functional.
I love the use of cymbal arms here. Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, this actually is probably the most difficult part of the set to get going. It took me about a half hour just to get this on the correct plane. So again, this is one of those things in the paper and the catalog and everything where it really looked good. It really looked like it was going to make a lot of sense, but you got into balance issues, getting this mounted and getting everything exactly where you wanted. And who wants to spend a half hour and trying to then emulate what you had before and then just guessing it in the event that you break it down and then set it back up. So there's got to be a better way. Over here, when you look at the footprint of all this over here, this all becomes very cluttered. And again, with a double bass drum setup or anything like this, it just makes it, it's got to be spot on, and you spend a lot of time just working to get that to that given point, which in my opinion is wasted time.
Well, I think we'll be able to take care of that for you.
All right.
All right, so let's get cracking.
Let's do it.
Okay, Greg, so what I did was I created you a three-sided rack. Now, I used two of our racks to do this. I used the GCS302C, which is a front curved rack system which just goes a bar over the bass drum. And then I used two side extensions, the GCS150C, both on each side. Now, as you can see, we were able to fit all of your drums, all of your cymbals, and even have some extra space for you to put more gear on. So let's have a look at what happened with your drums. So we were able to move over the 8 and 10 inch tom directly to the right of the 12 and 13, so you're a little bit more playable than they were before. So now you don't have that crisscross action that you were referring to. Now, in order to mount them to the rack, I had to custom build like a little bit of a tom mount. Because your tom arm is only like 3 inches long at the base, I needed to custom build one. So I just took a rack tube and I cut it down to about 6 inches, and then added an SC-RMAA, which is a rack tube mount attachment. And it fit right in there, and I used a right angle clamp to connect it to the side extension. And then boom, we have our 8 and 10 inch toms. Now let's move over to the 12 and 13. I had to do the same thing with the customized rack mount for the tom arm, because once again the tom arms on this were only 3 inches tall, and your toms are so deep As you said, these were the old school power toms. I needed to get a little bit more height and a little more distance away from the bass drum. So we got the 12 and 13. So now let's continue on around the drum kit and let's talk about the snare. So what we did is we used a legless snare stand. So the base that the basket is attached to is the GSMTL, which is a mini T-leg assembly, and then we have our Stealth bent bar with that funky little bend right in the middle, and then we just connected it directly to the front leg of the rack. Now your snare stand is completely legless, it's locked into place, and you don't ever have to worry about it going anywhere. Next, we have the legless hi-hat stand. This is the 9707 NLDP, and we connected it directly to the rack. So now it will not slide on you as you're playing, and it's going to be in the same place every single time. So this is rock solid, and there are no more tripods on the ground. Now to finish off this side, we put your ride right out of that back leg. Use the long boom arm, and then we put your left main crash right above the hi-hat, right, just overshadowing the 8-inch tom a little bit. So now let's go over to the floor tom side of the kit. So we've got the 20-inch main crash mounted directly out of the front leg. Perfect spot for that. Now here's where we added the 14-inch rack tom. So just like the other rack toms, I had to custom cut a bar for it just to give a little bit more length. And I think I cut this one maybe 7 or 8 inches and allowed me to position this exactly at the same height that all the other rack toms are at. Oh, and I left this clamp for you. You can have it. Keep it. It's yours. Then we have our ride cymbal. So now your ride cymbal, we had to move it back a little bit over to the right of the 14, just so it could be, we have rooms for the 14, but it's still playable, and I think that you'll think so too. So here is what it looks like from the playing position.